Emma had just celebrated her graduation, clutching that piece of paper in her hands with her heart full of hope, when fate decided to surprise her in the most unexpected way, a pregnancy. She was only 17, and the future she had imagined next to Matteo, her boyfriend, now seemed to dissolve like fog in the sun. They had loved each other with all the naivety and strength of first loves, planning college, trips, a house of their own. Children? Later, much later. Not now, not like this. When Emma found out she was expecting a child, she was overwhelmed by fear. It didn't seem real, it was something too big for her. Matteo was shocked. But how could this have happened? He said to himself. He took time to think and finally, disoriented, he confessed to her that he didn't feel ready. He wanted to graduate, build his career, and he didn't see himself being a father at that age. He couldn't give up everything for that mistake. Emma understood, she didn't want to chain him. She didn't want to become a regret for him. Before continuing, subscribe to our channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our stories. With a broken heart and a new life growing inside her, she took courage and confessed everything to her parents, hoping to find comfort. But she found only judgment and harsh words. They threw her out of the house without looking back, without thinking about the consequences, more concerned with the gossip of the village than with the daughter in front of them. So, without knowing where else to go, Emma found herself knocking on the door of her maternal grandparents' old house, in a small village called San Fermo. She hadn't seen them for years. There had never been great relationships, family disagreements, pride, distances never truly bridged. She didn't expect anything from them, but they were the only people she could ask for help. When the door opened and she saw Grandma Bianca's face, furrowed by wrinkles and lit up by her love, Emma collapsed into a liberating cry. There was no need to explain. The tenderness and understanding with which they welcomed her astonished her. Grandpa Carlo took her hand and led her in. And from that moment on, Emma was no longer alone. Grandma Bianca and Grandpa Carlo became her safe haven. With infinite love, they devoted themselves entirely to her and the baby on the way. Emma, thanks to them, found the strength to start over. She took care of her pregnancy with commitment, eating healthily, resting, going to all the visits. When she finally gave birth to a baby with big, lively eyes, she understood that, despite everything, life had given her the greatest gift. She named her baby Andrea. In the first few months, the house was a whirlwind of crying, cuddles, and laughter. Grandma Bianca helped her rock him in the most difficult moments, while Grandpa Carlo built wooden toys for his grandson. Andrea grew up happy, surrounded by true and unconditional love. Thanks to his grandparents, he lived in a peaceful environment, full of pure love. He never asked about his grandparents, whom he had never known, nor about his father, who had never been there. For him, the world began and ended within those walls, in the arms of his mother and his great-grandparents. Emma, little by little, rebuilt her life. She worked at the village market, studied in the evenings, and took care of Andrea with a dedication that moved everyone who knew them. The years passed quickly. Andrea became brighter, more curious, and kinder every day. Grandma Bianca always said that he had taken the best of Emma, the strength, the sweetness, and that light in her eyes that seemed to light up every room. When Andrea turned 18, Emma decided to organize a special party for him. She wanted him to feel all the love she had around her. But this time, she also made another, more difficult decision, to invite the people who had been part of their story, for better or for worse. She invited her parents, whom she hadn't seen for almost 2 decades. She also invited Matteo, Andrea's father, and his parents. It was a risky choice, she knew. But she felt it was time to close that circle. Not for her, For Andrea, she had the right to know her true origins and to be able to choose. On the evening of the party, the courtyard of the old house in San Fermo was decorated with soft lights and tables laden with sweets and flowers. The neighbors, the friends from school, everyone had gathered around that boy who had now become a young man. Emma watched Andrea from afar, as he laughed surrounded by his friends, and her heart filled with pride. Shortly after, the first unexpected guests arrived. Emma's parents showed up with a small gift in their hands and an uncertain look. They were no longer the same arrogant people they once were. The years had changed them, perhaps broken them. Matteo arrived with his parents. He was visibly nervous. He had never had the courage to ask about Andrea, he had never known how to fix his mistakes. Andrea, when he saw them, stood still for a moment. Then he smiled politely. He felt no hatred. He felt no resentment. He felt only a strange, sweet awareness. He didn't need them to know who he was. They were pieces of his story, yes. But they didn't define his happiness. The evening continued peacefully, with toasts, music, and some emotional speeches. At a certain point, Andrea took the microphone, blushing a little, but determined. "I would like to thank my family," he said, his voice breaking with emotion. "It's not what others expected. It's not perfect. But it's mine. And it made me the man I am today." Then he turned to Emma, Bianca, and Carlo. "You are everything I've ever had and needed. Mom, Grandma, Grandpa, thank you. I love you." Emma's eyes filled with tears. Grandma Bianca squeezed his shaking hand. Grandpa Carlo blew his nose loudly, making everyone laugh. Matteo, in the crowd, lowered his gaze. He knew he had lost the most important opportunity of his life. And now he understood that love cannot be claimed when it is convenient. That evening, under the stars of San Fermo, Andrea danced with his mother, then with his grandmother, and finally with his friends. The past had not been erased. But it had been forgiven. And the new life, the real one, began from there, with a promise whispered in the arms of someone who has never abandoned you. Did you like this story? Leave a comment below. Thanks for watching the video till the end and see you next story.